Hello, my name is Andrew Daniel. If you don't already know me, I am the director at the Center for Somatic Development, where we use video, movement, feedback, and feeling to help reflect back to you the unconscious patterns, mythologies, stories, and even the archetypes and shadow material that affect everything that you do in your life. And because of that video, you get to see this for yourself in your own body. It's a very advanced, very powerful process. And what we're doing today with this somatic meditation is based off of those principles and that philosophy and approach. I am also the author of this book, Awaken to Your True Self, Why You're Still Stuck, How to Break Through. And today we are going to be doing a somatic meditation on trust and fear. Trust and fear. So, what is somatic meditation and what makes it different? Well, somatic meditation is different in two primary ways. The first is it is a body approach rather than a head approach. And second, it's feeling-based rather than thinking-based. And so even though traditional meditation is like not thinking, it's still focused on the thinking. And so what is really special about somatic meditation is that instead of trying not to think and trying not to be in your head and saying, well, what do I do? What do I do with myself instead? We get you out of your head into your body, and rather than thinking, we have you start feeling. And that feeling can be internal emotions, or that feeling could be through movement and sensations, our physical sensations and our emotional feeling systems and our touching systems are our primary sense. And so you can imagine all the other senses are based off of touch. You say, but Andrew, you madman. I'm not touching things with my eyes to see them. Oh, but the photons are coming in. Energetically, your eyes are sending information out to touch the world. Smell, right? All the particles touching some receptors. Hearing, sound waves bouncing off your eardrum. Taste, your taste buds, those chemicals interacting. And obviously, touch. So it's not too hard to imagine that feeling is the base sense, because it's quite literally that, and metaphysically that as well. And so in the advanced work, we have you develop your feeling-based awareness. And if you're interested in that, check out the video on the Clips and Replays channel on YouTube. Last week, I did a whole session on developing your feeling-based awareness. And so in this somatic meditation, feeling our way is often, for at least folks in the West, a much more effective way of stilling the mind, of stopping the thoughts. Because a lot of people struggle with, well, what do I do with myself if I'm not thinking? Well, you start feeling. And you can feel in a very still, silent way. You can feel in a very intense way. And perhaps you can get to a place where you're just being and not doing anything. But today, in these somatic meditations, we're going to be getting out of our head into our body, feeling, not thinking, and from that place, discover ourselves and our life. Know thyself. So these are active meditations. They don't have to be. But if they weren't, we would just be staring at you for an hour. And for a lot of people, they got stuff going on. And so these somatic meditations are a way for you to discover some of those things. What are some of these things going on in my life that I'm not aware of that are holding me back, that are keeping me in suffering? And this process is a process of know thyself, of knowing who you are, of what's really happening. At one level, there's many, many deeper levels. But this is an introduction to this work. And because of that, we keep it fairly light. With that being said, a lot of people don't necessarily feel the same way. A lot of people have very deep, very profound, intense experiences. So proceed at your own risk. There's no danger, but there is a risk of intense emotions coming up. Because today we're going to be working around fear and trust in life. And that might bring up some stuff. It might not. But we're here to find out. So what we're going to be doing in a few minutes, we're going to start the meditation. And I'm going to guide you through some different instructions for you to practice today's moving somatic meditation. We will start with 3 breaths to come in and connect with each other. We will get grounded for a few minutes. We will have you walk through the space. So this one is going to be a walking around somatic meditation. So now's the time to get prepared to walk around the space, preferably hands-free. So if you need a few minutes to get prepared for that, now's the time. We will close with another set of 3 breaths, and then we will go into Q&A discussion afterwards. That's where you can share your experience, I answer your questions, and most people get most of their value from in these calls, in hearing what other people went through and getting some answers to what they went through. All right. Let's get into it. All right, 3 deep breaths in through your nose, hold out through the mouth. Great. So, let's begin. Beginning our feet on the ground. And you're simply going to bring all your awareness down your body. You want to get still, but you can also use the movement to get still. I kind of like to move my hips. It gets me down lower into my body. I can bring my attention there with movement. I can feel my feet on the ground. Just bring your awareness down and down and down. Just very soft, gentle movements. Just get into your body. Don't think. Just let your body move. Just very gentle movements or stretches. There's no right way or wrong way. Don't even think about it. Just spend a minute. Maybe curl your toes into the earth. Curl your fingers. Great. First part of this meditation, I want you to walk around the space. All you're going to do is walk around your space. Just give you a minute or two to walk around. Instructions are vague and general on purpose. Just walk around the space. All right, as you walk around the space, I want you to start being aware of how you relate to the space. Are you going slow? Are you going fast? Are you connecting with anything? Are you disconnected? Are you in your head? Just make note of how you feel. Do you have any judgments? Any emotions? All right. Now, I want you to walk through the space like you're afraid of it. I'll give you a few minutes to do this. So I want you to pretend, right? Find the feeling of being afraid and move in your body through the space in a way that looks and feels as if you're afraid of the space. Another way to think about this is that the space is a danger. Everything around you is a threat or a potential threat. Now, if this is too intense or overwhelming, feel free to, modulate yourself. If it becomes too much, make note of that, and you can, back out of the exercise if you need to. But if you're able to, find a way to move through the space that represents fear to you. How do you relate to the space when it's a threat, when it's a danger, or when you're afraid? Okay, great. Take a few seconds. You can stop. Shake it out a little bit. Give yourself a little reset. Right now, walk through the space as if it's safe, as if it's trustable. Walk through the space in trust. What would it feel like to walk through the space as if you trusted it? Now, if you can actually trust the space, do that. If you're living your life generally in fear and you can't trust anything, well, I want you to imagine what it could feel like, what it might look like, what you've seen it look like. To trust life, to trust the space, and move in that way. You may say, well, I don't trust the space. I don't feel safe. Great, that's why we're doing this. What would it feel like if you were to be safe, if you could trust the space? If the people and the things and the activities and circumstances of the space around you were safe, that you were in no danger, that you could trust and be at peace as you move through the space. So walk around the space from this place. I'll give you a few minutes to explore that. All right. You can pause. You can stop that. Give yourself just a little shake. All right. Now the final exercise is I want you to walk around the space in a way that's not only safe and trustable, but it's actually there to serve you. That space is actively loving you. That the space itself actually cares about you. Right? It's not just not going to kill you. It's there to love you. It's there to serve you. It's there to assist you. It's there to help you. It's there to take care of you. It's there to hold you. So find that feeling inside yourself, and from that feeling, walk through the space in that way. Interact with the space from this feeling. Move from this feeling of the space is actively there, supporting you, loving you, helping you. The space is on your side. Everyone, everything in that space is on your team. You're one team. What would it feel like to let that in? What would it feel like to let go of any walls or armor and let yourself be loved and penetrated and held and cared for and supported by everything in the space? So walk around in this way. And you may notice, maybe to some things you can, maybe to other things it's harder. Don't think about it too much, just observe. Just let yourself observe. In the meditations, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to understand, there's no good or bad, there's no right or wrong, there's no shoulds, there's no shouldn'ts. It's a meditation practice. It's a playground. It's a sandbox for you to explore and discover the truth of what's actually happening. Afterwards, you can sort it all out. But trying to do that in the middle of it is going to get in your own way, and it's going to mess up the data. Just like an experiment. You let the experiment go through, then you figure it out. You try to figure it out in the middle of it, you're going to fudge up the data. So don't think, just feel. Feel your way through the space. And part B, bonus step, what would it feel like if you loved the space? If you actively supported and cared about the space and everything in it? What would it feel like if you walked through your space loving everything in it, penetrating everything around you, caring? Everything around you opens itself and themselves to your love, to your care, to your support. Now walk around the space in this way. Another way to think about it is just reverse it. Right? Instead of the energy coming in one way, feel it going out the other. Or vice versa. Just reversing that direction. What does this feel like? Again, just make note. Any stories, any emotions, judgments. Don't think about it. Just observe. Just be aware. Joy, bliss, relaxation, peace, connection, intimacy. Just be aware. We'll have you move through the space for another minute or two. All right. You can stop and come back. Give you a few seconds to come back and get settled. We will take our 3 breaths and end the meditation part of our call. Three breaths, in through the nose, hold, and out through the mouth hole. Well, that concludes the meditation part of this call. If you got to go, we'll see you next time. You can catch the rest of the Q&A of this session on my Clips and Replays channel on YouTube. Once again, my name is Andrew Daniel, the author of this book, Awaken to Your True Self, and the director at the Center for Somatic Development. If you have some time, if you got about 15 minutes, I'm going to stick around for some Q&A and discussion. So type in your comments here. What was your experience? What did you feel? What happened? What did you realize? In the first part, where you just took a baseline, you just walked around the space. What did that look like? What did that feel like? What could you already tell from that? Then we had you walk around in fear of the space. What happened there? What was different? What was the same? Then we had you walk around in safety and trust. What was that like? How did that contrast to your baseline? How did that contrast with fear? And then finally, we had you relate to the space through love. That the space was there to support you and actively love you and help you. And then the second part of that, you were there to love and support and show up for the space. How did those contrast each other? And how did that perhaps differ from just simply trusting and being safe in the space? And how did all of these contrast your baseline? And what did you learn? So we'll give you a few minutes to type some of that out. You can go bit by bit. That doesn't all have to be in one giant essay. So just share your experience. What did you realize? What did you learn about how you are normally relating to life? How you normally relate to the world versus these other ways. For example, if how you normally, in your baseline, walked around the space looked identical to how you would walk around and relate to it if you were afraid of it, what might that tell you? What might that reveal about how you move through the world? Or if your baseline looked identical or very similar to walking through the world in trust and safety, how might that reflect how you move through your life? You see what's happening here. You see the approach behind this. This is very, very similar to what we would do in a cinesomatic session, except we'd be recording it and I'd be giving you feedback. And it's that video feedback that is worth thousands and thousands of dollars. It's worth saving your life. It's worth healing trauma. It's worth living in peace and joy. It's worth having courage. It's worth letting love and intimacy in. It's worth all of these things in order to see how you normally relate to life and also help you heal all of those blocks, all of that shadow material, all of that trauma, all of those things that have happened in your life that cause you to live in fear, that cause the space to treat you a certain way, that cause you to be afraid of life or close life out, to shut down, whatever it is. Or maybe martyr yourself. Maybe you found out that you could love the space, but the space couldn't love you. Or maybe vice versa. All of these reveal something. This is a revelatory somatic meditation. you get to explore how you relate and move through life. Love, or fear, or trust. And the great thing is that you get to choose. You get to pick. It's your choice on how you move through the world, on how you relate to life. It may not feel that way, may not have felt that way up until this moment, today. Because we've been conditioned. We've had our trauma, our culture, our upbringing, our stories, the mythologies that run us and our family, generational trauma, abuse, victim mentality, not taking responsibility. All of these things play a part in how you relate to life. If you're interested in going deeper in this, the chapter of my book, Avoidance of Life, if you have the book, on page 139 is the subsection, A Distrust in Life. And in here, we talk about people who do trust life and people who do not trust life. We talk about how mistrust can begin with the mother and father, with ourselves, with our body, other people, nature, God or spirit, and even life itself. And then it goes into the reasons, why this causes us to avoid life. And then this avoidance goes into how it leads to our suffering. So you can imagine that if you are afraid of life, if you are afraid of the space, if you are afraid of the people in the space, you're probably going to want to avoid it. You're probably not going to show up in that space as you would in the last thing, loving it, supporting it. So this sounds very, perhaps simple to some people, but for many people, the basis of this, their relationship to the space, their relationship to life itself, whether it's trust or fear, safety or danger, that sets a major tone for someone's life. Oops, I was waiting for your comments. And I was expecting them to move. So you have been writing comments. I've just been talking this whole time, waiting for you guys to say something, but it wasn't scrolling. All right, so I just checked, and you have comments. All right. Debbie says, immense gratitude. Excellent. Beth says, I came in on this call at the point of trusting the space. It was so peaceful compared to my baseline. Amazing. Great. If you missed part of this call, I'm going to have the replay up on YouTube. Just look for Andrew Daniel clips. You'll be able to catch the whole call in case you missed that part. But that's great. Susie said, in the last two cases, I find myself wonderful. I suffer from agoraphobia, and it could be so wonderful to go around like this. Wonderful. Well, for at least a few minutes, you did go around like this. So we know it's in you. And so the next step is just what's in between you in that choice, right? It could be a trauma. There could be, something. There could be a miswiring. Whatever it is, I don't know. You can't do that kind of thing without knowing you're seeing you. But it's possible. And so that gives hope. If you've, here's the thing: if someone somewhere, and that someone is especially you, has done it once for 1 minute, it shows you that it's possible. So that is amazing. That could be life-changing for you. I would suggest practicing that in a space perhaps is very safe. Just start small. Start with what you can, with where you're at, and just practice that. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to start embodying that wonderful feeling. Even if it's just a minute. Maybe next day, try 2 minutes. It could. I don't know. I don't know your situation. I'm not a doctor. But this could potentially be a life-changing thing for you, just to practice that. Just changing the way you relate to the space. That in itself could be incredible. Or at least this could be a doorway. It could be some path forward for you. Barbara said, from avoidance to some acceptance to complete comfort and acceptance. Great. Camellia says, fear was a physical contraction. Love felt physically open and my muscles let go in general. I think my normal was less physically aware in general, more cerebral. More to-do lists came to mind, and tension crept in physically. Oh, great awareness. Susie says, yes, love was relaxing and intuitive, natural. Great. Doing this exercise around people would be another level of challenge. Yeah. Well, when you can do it here without people, right, then the next step is with people, because that's life. And once you can get, work yourself up. Not work yourself up, work your way up to that. How can you get comfortable in the space and trust the safe? And trust the space and feel love by yourself with the space. Okay, great. Then you add in some people. All right, well, what comes up for you? All of a sudden, you're going to see these stories. All of a sudden, you're going to be triggered. All of a sudden, all this stuff is going to start activating based on your life and your relationship with other people. And that is going to be your opportunity to heal. That is going to reveal to you all of that stuff inside of yourself that needs healing, that you get to face with courage, because it's probably not going to be easy, right? If you feel like other people are the problem, well, other people are going to be the problem. And so when you can go into this exercise, do this meditation, go into this place of including other people into the trust, into the love, that is going to be life-changing. And that is going to be a whole other set of work, because then you have things that come up like needs, boundaries, enforcing boundaries, intimacy, all these kind of things. And that's where Somatics, helps with all of that stuff at a very advanced level. But if your baseline is already fear, if your baseline of the world is danger, that doesn't even matter yet. So we want your baseline to be open, to be loving. And then you can add in more levels or layers of difficulty and challenge to help expose what still needs to be healed. And I find that's a really great way to approach life. It's much better than being a victim. It's much better than blaming. And it's much better than running away from everything that triggers us. If instead we say, oh my gosh, look at all these triggers. They're pointing to what needs to be healed. These are revealing everything that's going to help move my life forward, rather than being upset and mad and angry and defensive and blaming and resentful and all that stuff. It's one way to live, but here doing this work, we're helping people towards something a bit more peaceful, functional. And that path is a path usually of healing. There's also a functionality bit where sometimes you just never were taught how to respect yourself and others, or what it actually looks like and feels like to have boundaries, to deserve boundaries, to set boundaries, to enforce them, to stand up for yourself. We're not taught how to be able to discern, how to feel other people, to know if they're trustworthy. Many of us have very dysfunctional trust assessment strategies, right? Oh, this person said all these sweet words to me. They must be a great person. Yeah, but if you maybe feel underneath them, if you go into the feeling rather than just the words, you may feel that this person is manipulative and narcissistic, and they're just buttering you up to abuse you or take advantage of you. That's why feeling is so important, because you can feel through all of this stuff once you have this guidance system set up. If you want to work on that, if that sounds like something that you could use, check out the YouTube Clips channel. I have a replay of a somatic no, I just have a clip. There's a clip in there about developing this internal guidance system. And so it'll give you some tips on how to start that process. So there's a lot to this, as you can see, as if there's some dysfunction, or if there's some stories, or if there's tension or anxiety doing any of these things, it reveals that there's something there for healing. There's something there to take a look at, because that is not the highest state that you can be in. All of that's going to serve you until it doesn't. And a lot of clients come in and they've spent their whole lives doing these things that served them, perhaps kept them alive, and so we're grateful. But the things that keep us alive during abuse or trauma or catastrophes aren't necessarily the things that are going to lead to intimacy and peace, and being able to relax and surrender. All right, what else we got here? Will I spell my last name? Daniel. 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 Let's see. Yes, I found myself free. I will do it for sure. I come from trauma. Yep. All right, that is my mission. Absolutely, absolutely. Great. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up today's somatic meditation. We'll see you next week. Once again, my name is Andrew Daniel, the author of this book, Awaken to Your True Self, the director at the Center for Somatic Development. And if you know anybody that would benefit or enjoy this kind of work, this kind of stuff, send them this replay. You can find it on my YouTube's secondary channel, Andrew Daniel Clips, where I post all these somatic meditations and other clips from podcasts and events and things like that to help you get unstuck, wake up, and get out of your head and into your body. And this is just the beginning. This is the level 1 of the advanced work that we do. So if you're someone who is really into this kind of stuff and want to go deeper, check out my book, check out Somatics. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend.